welcome back to Art Wandering Studios. This is part 3 of lesson 1, and we are going to finalize and bring everything together that you've learned so far. If you have not already watched lesson A and B on how to watercolor a sky, and then lesson B, how to watercolor a palm tree, you're gonna need to probably stop this video and go back and watch those two, because I won't be re-demonstrating how to do the sky and the palm tree. I will show you how to do this gradient wash to make this abstract beach. But other than that, I'm gonna speed up the video when I'm doing the sky and the palm tree, just because I know you already know how to do that. So let's go ahead and get started. The supplies that you're gonna need is clean water, 2 cups. You're gonna need all of the supplies you needed for the palm tree. So you're gonna need like some large brushes, some small brushes. And you're really gonna need to backtrack and get all of the colors. So I actually have ultramarine blue, yellow ochre, china white, sap green, cobalt blue, and I've even got some lemon yellow to change things up just a bit. So what you're going to do then is go ahead and take a brand new piece of your watercolor paper. And I've got painter's tape. You can use Scotch tape if you don't have any painter's tape on hand. And you're gonna go ahead and tape your edges down. Now when you tape your edges down, you do want to be careful that you're making a straight line while you're making your border, because this border will prove to be a really nice white edge when we're all done. Believe it or not, I just spent 15 minutes trying to track down what happened to my painter's tape. Shockingly, it ended up in Landon's bedroom. I don't know how, but that's where I found it. And then what you're going to do is we are going to create a nice sharp edge right here. To do that, you're going to take a piece of your tape. Again, masking tape will work just fine. And estimate halfway and then bring your tape down a little bit more than halfway. You want to make sure that the tape is as parallel as you can get it to the edge of your paper. You don't want a crooked horizontal line. So go ahead and pause the video while you get that set up. Okay, let's move on. So what I did was I stopped the video and I went ahead and I watercolored my sky. So if you did not already watch my YouTube video on how to watercolor a sky, make sure that you go ahead and watch that video first. It'll show you how very easily you can watercolor a sky. You may notice that I did add a little bit of pink in my sky, mixed it with blue, and it kind of made some little violet highlights here and there. So that is something I can show you in future videos after we learn the basics. But we're gonna do the water. Very carefully take off your horizon line. Look how beautiful that is. It has this really nice crisp line. To keep it, you can probably reuse the same tape or get new if you need to. But what I'm going to do is I'm gonna place this tape to protect my skyline, and I'm gonna put it almost exactly where I had it, only above. But don't press too hard, press tighter here. You don't want it to tear your paper. So now I have just room for where we're going to put a variegated wash. That means you're going to go from blending one color into another, and that is called a variegated wash. In watercolor, it's a technique that's used where the middle two kind of kiss each other. They blend together really pretty. Okay, so what I have, and you're gonna go ahead and squeeze on your palette, white, cobalt blue, and yellow ochre. All right, let's see what I can do here. So for the water, we don't want it transparent. We want to keep our sky transparent, and we want our water to look like a liquid. So you're not going to wet this with water like you did your sky. We are, however, going to make a wash first. So I'm going to squeeze about 1/4 amount of water right above my cobalt blue. And I'm going to go ahead and mix the color I want for my water. So I'm just going to take a little bit of my cobalt blue. And you can make this a pretty strong color. So I'm going to take almost all of a pea-size amount of my blue because I don't want this lighter than my sky. And you'll see that it's very primary blue, kind of what you think of as a Crayola blue. If you use colors straight out of the tube, it can work for you, especially if you like brighter colors and you are a little more abstract. But for realism, I do like to tone it down a little bit. I'm going to add just a scoop of my yellow ochre. And then that, as you mix it in, as long as you're not doing a little dab of it, it's going to actually give you more of a turquoise blue-green color and not green. If it looks too much green, just take a little more blue and just keep adding it till you like it. As a matter of fact, I think I got a little bit too happy with my yellow ochre, and it's a little bit it's too green. So easy fix, I'm just gonna squeeze a little bit more cobalt blue. Make sure to always squeeze your tubed colors onto the circled wells though, because you don't want to get too much of the color. And I'm just going to add that slowly in until I like my color. Okay, so now I've got a color I like. It's really pretty blue. You can actually mix whatever color blue you want, be experimental. So blue can be toned down by adding just a little bit of brown to it. Blue can be toned down into a navy by adding a little bit of black. You could try adding a little bit more of the brighter yellow and just play around and see what you like. Once you have your color, we're ready for the variegated wash. It's very easy. You're going to take a nice, clean, flat brush. And then I'm just going to go ahead and load my color with it. And I'm going to start at the top. Very important when you're doing water is to keep your strokes horizontal. Oop, I got a little bit too blue right there. So, in other words, if you start to curve your arm like this, it's going to look really bad. Your water will not look realistic. But I'm just going to go ahead and make horizontal strokes. And then I'm going to rinse my brush off when I get just about 1/3. Then I'm going to take clean water. And that's very important to take your clean water, keep it strokes. And I'm going to keep rinsing it off. And I don't want gobs and gobs of water on my brush. And I'm just going to fade it until it goes back into white. And then I'm just going to leave it. Now you can play with your water. You know, I can like take my brush and add some strokes going through it, especially in the back if you want. You can kind of take the tip of your brush and kind of lay some darker areas in. And you can really play with this as much as you want. But the key is going to be, whatever you do, keep your strokes horizontal. Okay? So you also have a smaller brush here. You can actually pick up highlights in the water. Just take a wet brush and dry it off. And this is called lifting. And I can kind of lift some color up here and there, kind of showing that there might be an idea of a wave here and there. Again, this is called lifting. I'm keeping this really loose, very abstract. If you want it more realistic, I would recommend using a reference picture online once you've tried this a little bit, if you feel like it. But I'm just lifting up some waves. You don't have to do this step. You can actually leave it and it'll still look really good. But this is just a little extra in case you feel like it. You're going to see more waves up close than farther behind, so just kind of keep that in mind, by the way. I'm going to keep it in mind. But you can lift. I'm just using a clean, dry brush. You just kind of pick it up and pull it off. Don't scrub your paper. If you don't like what you did, just take water, clean water, and keep it nice and loose. That's the most important thing. We're going to keep this nice and loose. And there's my water. Now you're going to want this to dry for about 5 minutes before you do the sand. I left more sand in this particular one, but that's just because I shortened it so it would fit on the video screen. You can play around with as much or as little beach that you want. But we want to mix this really light color. So what I'm going to do for that really light color is I'm going to get a nice clean well in clean water. And I'm going to put I just need like a quarter amount of water. And I'm going to be very careful when I grab my yellow ochre because I got a little blue over here, not to grab that because I don't want a green beach. That yellow ochre and blue will make that, put in the wrong well. And just kind of stir that up. And you'll notice it's a little bit too bright, for me anyway. I'm going to take a scoop of my white. And I'm going to mix white and yellow ochre for my beach color. That's all you need to do. You can lighten it until you like it. So again, really being an artist isn't that much different than being a scientist when they experiment. Experiment with mixing colors. The more you paint, the better you are going to be at how to mix just the right color. It's my favorite part. So I'm liking this color. It's really pretty. Ooh. So what you're going to do is the exact same technique you did for your water. Take your large flat brush. Load your color. I don't know if you can hear my children in the background or not. They're playing with loud toys. But you're going to go ahead and start at the base, bring it up, and keep going back and forth till it starts to mix. And then I'm going to rinse it off. I'm just going to take clean water with not that much water on it, and I want to drag it up. I'm just going back and forth, drag it down. But you need to keep cleaning your brush so you're not dragging color down into a color. And just as long as you keep your strokes horizontal, it should be okay in a clean brush. Now, you might need to practice that. So I might recommend practicing this on a separate piece of paper until you're really good at doing this variegated wash, of blending these very, very easily. But it's gonna look really pretty, and I'm hoping you can see this. I'm actually videotaping the second part during the day, as you can hear, landing in the background probably, and again, if your watercolor starts to pill up at a certain area you don't want it, you can just pick it up with a dry brush. So I'm just kind of noticing I don't like that so much. So I'm just gonna kind of loosen it up with just a smidgen. Okay, that's good, I like it. So that is all you need to do. So now we've got our sky, we've got our water, and I don't want to leave this tape on my watercolor too long because it actually might start to rip it. So, you know, let it dry just for a minute or two, but don't leave it on for a real long time. And peel downward. And there you go. Then you should have a nice crisp line. Now mine bled up a little bit. I don't like that. So I'm just going to kind of fix it a little bit. So I'm just going to take the edge of my small detail brush where it lifted up on that color. Happens sometimes when I'm actually painting a room. I hate that. But I'm just steadying my hand on the table. If you need to do that too. I'm just going to steady my hand on the table. Now normally if I wasn't doing a video, I'm just going to keep doing that till it's straight enough that I like it. So I'm just fixing my horizon line because it's spilled up a little bit. Don't like it. Just gonna drag it back down. There you go. So if that happens to you, just go ahead and I just took a wet brush, a small number 6, and I just kind of steadied my hand on the table and brought it across to fix it. If you have a steady hand and you want to avoid that worries you, then an idea would be just to go ahead and draw the line with a pencil, super light, so only you can see it. And then you can just drag your brush straight across. So you're gonna let this dry. Go grab a cup of coffee, relax, maybe look and see if you can see a robin outside for a minute while that dries. Okay, so my watercolor is completely dry. And I am ready to add my palm tree. You can add your palm tree wherever you want. Again, if you did not watch the video on how to paint a palm tree, go ahead and go to Art Wandering Studios and watch the video on how to watercolor a palm tree. So just a trick here. So I grabbed a white eraser. Any eraser will work, but you're gonna kind of like map out where you want your trunk to go with your eraser. A nice white eraser came with your kit. So think about, do you want it straight? Do you want it to curve? The trunks of palm trees are really different. Again, this is where a reference picture online might really help you out. So I'm just going to decide where I want my tree to go. So just kind of mark it in, and then what you're going to do is actually kind of you're going to draw with your eraser, and I'm just going to kind of mask in about where it's going to go, and then I'm just going to brush it away. So I'm going to zoom up on this so you can see it. It might be too light for you, but I'm actually picking up some of my color. So I'm just going to very gently, I'm not over scrubbing. My color will go on top, but it just kind of lightens it up enough that I know what I'm doing before I paint. Landon just came in. Here we go. What, buddy?
Cardi just threw a ceramic sheet.
He just threw what, wasn't it an accident?
No, but
Okay.
he didn't say sorry.
He didn't say sorry. Okay, go tell him to say sorry. Okay, so we then lifted up that, and you can kind of see, isn't that cool? So it's kind of nice, a nice little tip that can allow you that. So now you're gonna go ahead and you can just follow the video on how to do the palm tree. I'm gonna paint it, but I'll probably speed up the video. But I'm just gonna go ahead and start off with my yellow ochre color that I like. I'm gonna tone it down just a bit with burnt umber. Just play around, whatever color that you want. And you're gonna wanna put this on, and this is layering because I'm doing one color on top of another. Keep your paintbrush wet. And I'm just filling this in. And you might need to do more than one layer on this, by the way, to cover it up. I kind of touch in where that mark is.
Like a bird on a tree, I'm just sitting here. I got time, it's clear to see. From up here, the world seems small. We can sit together. It's so beautiful, you and me. We meant to be in the great outdoors, forever free. A step back to see the truth around you. From a distance you can tell. You and me were meant to be outdoors,
Okay, so how did you do? I hope you had fun. It was so fun teaching you. So it's kind of been fun, that side of it. But I hope you did great. Don't be discouraged. It just takes practice. So hopefully you did amazingly well. If you didn't, don't give up. Keep going. You can rewatch the videos. Keep practicing. You can stop and pause the videos. And you will be able to create a beautiful landscape. Just look at your landscape. If you love it, that's awesome. Then you are ready to take off the tape. So just kind of peel it off very carefully. It creates a really nice border. But if for whatever reason you end up ripping your border at all, remember you can frame it if you really like it. And then cover up that ripped paper with a frame. But that is really all there is to it. The last thing we want to do is just do a little bit of a shadow. So that's the last thing I'm going to show you, and then we're going to be done with our first one. Once this is dry, you're just going to take a brush. I'm taking the number 6 flat brush. I'm taking the same beach color. You don't even need to darken it because this is called layering. And I'm just going to grab that, and I'm just going to kind of put on a little bit of a shadow. To be honest, you probably want to do this before you take off your tape. I don't know what I'm doing. But I'm just kind of adding a little bit of a shadow here and there, because it's going to lay down on I'm going to lay down on it. So that's actually called layering. And then I'm just going to to just smooth in that shadow, I'm just going to take a damp brush. And I'm just going to kind of soften those edges just a little bit, giving it a little bit of depth there. And that's it. You did it. You created an amazing beach watercolor landscape. I'll just zoom up on that so you can maybe see it. And I hope you are happy with it. I think you did great. So great job. Let me know how it went. Please forward me how you did. So if you can just get those to me, we'll be all set.